Hey y'all, just thought I'd do a real quick, well it's not going to be real quick, it's going to be about, I don't know, 45 minutes live so you can see down and dirty, uninterrupted how the system actually runs and does the process, how loud it is, how quiet it is, the attention it takes, basically an unfettered look at how to operate it. It's not going to be rehearsed, it's obviously going to be my normal down and dirty style. So let's get to it. Let me show you, how do I flip this camera around while I'm doing this? So as you can see here, I got about, I don't know, 600 milliliters. It's got a tinge bit green. It's a tinge bit green because I did what I normally do and mess around with stuff. So what I did, that's actually like a 30-second wash, because I actually did the cold wash under vacuum to see if I could do it quickly and see what it would look like. So that's the first time I ever did it. So it's about a 30-second wash. It looks pretty damn rich. But anyway, we'll see what it ends up like. Let's get back to her. So it's about 600 milliliters or so we're going to run. We got the little guy here. Got him set up the way it is. Got the IH cooking top. I got the little guy going. That's a water bath. You can't really see it, but there's a bunch of water up to about here and there, keeping that tubing cool with the ladder in there. And like I mentioned before, I'm not sure how many of you guys saw it, I actually got rid of the, I actually got rid of the vapor brake that I was putting in it, because what I'm doing now is I'm using a controlled flood, which I'll show you later. But it has to do with basically elevating this exit tube a little bit above here, so it has a little bit of climb, so it'll pool here. It's called a controlled pool. This is excessive, but I'm just going to start running it. I'm going to start running it like that for a little while, just to show you kind of what happens in different phases and why you're running it, what you can see, what you can expect. And then it's going to obviously reclaim here. And this, normally, like I've pictured before, can be a vertical kind of waterfall using gravity. But I'm going to start by just showing you how it works like this first, and then we'll get going. And I've got the quick connects. This is how I use the quick connects with to separate the vacuum and the actual set, just for easy on and off. So I'm going to set this camera up. Give me a second to mess around and set this camera up with a view so you can see me loading the LV, and then so I can use both hands to get the vacuum going, and then I'll get this back in my hand so you guys can see how it works. Ready? Actually, if I rotate it, does it rotate for you? It says rotate your phone. You can't turn your phone while recording. Well, damn. All right, then. Well, I guess we're going to do it like this. Just for your guide, I expect a lot of janky stuff to happen while I'm doing this, using the camera, putting it in and out. So please be patient, and I appreciate your support. You can see that, right? Yeah, good enough for right now. I'm going to take this off. Pour this guy in here. Put the lid on, make sure this valve is closed. So you saw that get loaded. Let me take this back in my hand. Actually, let me connect this real quick so you can see it. It needs 2 hands. This is the quick connects. So you do this, and it connects them. You can see that okay. And then it's got this little silver tab here. You just push, and it comes undone. And the part with it has a kind of a bulk part right here. That's actually a vapor lock. So even when you take this off, it's just like closing the valve. Vapor or air can't get through there. It actually locks it, so it's a termination. But once you put this guy in there that doesn't have the lock, or even if it did once it's in there, then it's free flowing. So they're pretty cool. So let's see, let's hit this guy. Put that on, see if we can get the vacuum going here. Maybe it needs a little pressure up here. There it goes. Whoop. Whoop. So we're in play. If you notice this vacuum brake right here, the ball valve, I've got it closed. This one is open. Whoop. This one's open, so you notice I kind of messed around and have these upside down. This one's open, so the vacuum can go through there. Just pull through here, out of here, and it's coming up here. This is probably going to settle somewhere around 25 is max for this elevation. So it's going to kind of keep going slowly now up until it gets to about somewhere between 23 and 25, depending on what you can see. I haven't turned this guy on yet, but pretty shortly, even at room temperature, we're going to start boiling here. There it goes. So as soon as that starts happening, it's going to create vapor. So this is not going to be able to get to full vacuum because vapor is already being made at less than full vacuum. So it's going to raise the pressure because vapor is going to be getting in there. So it's not going to get there all the way. So we're going to let that run. We're going to keep letting that run a little bit. You see how this is a little bit lower vacuum because it's already there. This is already pre-cooled. So let's go ahead and turn this guy on. Got the power on. Oop, I'm going to hit the power. I'm going to hit menu. I'm going to hit it at basically half power at 5 and hit menu again, but we don't want 300. We want it down to about 120. We're going to start on 125. And our boy's rolling already. I should have aerated this first. If I were to aerated it first, it would have been boiling probably much easier. So don't forget to aerate. And now, since this is pretty much, that's pretty much probably as far as it's going to go, 42 and a quarter. We want to remember where we started. I'm going to turn that, I'm going to close that. I'm going to turn this off. And unfortunately, this is all we're going to do probably for the next 45 minutes to just watch this guy go. You can see there's already vapor starting to come through here. See how this is all kind of choppy? This should be a really nice even boil. But what I did is I forgot to aerate it, which means if you take a look at some of the articles when you talk about aerating, because once you use ethanol and it's already been used for some reason, and I don't know exactly why, something about it getting even actually more dry, the air kind of gets sucked out of it, so it doesn't like to phase change as much. It doesn't like to release the nice even boiling. And I still haven't kind of figured out why. Somebody probably knows, but I've never heard of it before. We figured it out a few years ago. But what you always want to do before you put a wash in there, which you saw me put it in there and I didn't do it, you need to put it in a glass jar with headspace and give it a good shake. And when it does that, it catches a bunch of air in there. And when it boils, it's got a nice even keel boil, nice smooth bubbles, nice even distribution. And when you don't do it, you get a chumpy boil like that. It's kind of nasty. Hopefully after a while it'll sort itself out, but It's kind of not. It's kind of going. It's not boiling so great. But you can see we've already got stuff going on. Actually, you know what? Since we're here, let's do this. Let me show you the difference. So you see how that's going now. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to stop it, I'm going to empty it, I'm going to shake it, and then we're going to put it back in and watch how it goes. You can see all right, yeah, I'm just going to put it in this. You can actually see, I don't know if you can see down here in the, there's already a whole bunch of, we got a whole bunch of production already. But let's do this just so we can see what happens with the aeration. See, I can touch that. It's boiling, right? You saw it boiling. It's kind of cold. It's not even like 80 degrees. Ooh, that smells good. Smells funkalicious. Oh, I didn't shake that, did I? Now, let's hope this works and doesn't make a liar out of me. The suspense is killing me. Will it actually work? Well, now that I lied. Let's see. Well, we can go through the startup again. Make sure this is closed. That's not on. Got to connect this guy again because I disconnected it. These guys, let's reset this so it's nice and set. Oh, and if you notice, I don't have him on ice right now because we're going to work with it without ice. I'm going to show you the difference in how this moves and then also how that reacts once we get ice on it. So let's get this guy started again. I'm going to start the pump. Got to make sure this one's open. Go back to my lovely cameraman skills. This guy's pulling up. He's getting there. This guy's already pulling some nice condensation. Our ice bucket's still working good. Just waiting for this guy to come up. As he's getting there, the boiling's already starting, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of it. I'm going to set this guy on. Get them going. 5. Whoops, we're going to leave it at 5. Hit it again. We're going to start it at 125. And then that's what we want to see. See how that's much nicer boil, much more controlled. It's not blobbing all over the place. That's going to work much better for us. So there's your aeration, and there we can see there's already vapor coming up. It's pretty fast once it starts going, so that's hopefully what we want to see. Something a bit more controlled. We've already got, there's vapor kind of shooting through there because this hasn't had a chance to actually flood yet. Once this gets more full, then it'll start slowing down. It should start slowing down the vapor and back. See, it's happening already. This guy's climbing up there. The vapor's getting pulled through because we still got the pump running. This is still pumping down, so we just have to wait for it to settle a bit. See, look like he settled down. He's still climbing slowly. That looks pretty good. I think we'll just leave him there for now. We'll close the ball valve, shut that guy off. You can see we've already got a lot going on here. This is still not boiling quite as smooth as I'd like it, but it might be because it's so full. Well, not full, so rich. And this is pumping out a lot of vapor. So that vapor, if you've got it mowed down, all that, instead of refluxing, you can get it to go into the condenser. So if you can move this a little bit, if you can move the condenser a little bit lower, all that's going to flow straight in. But this is what it looks like when you don't use any ice here. You've got this going uphill. So this is basically going to flood this whole thing until I put this down a little bit. But this is how it starts. So that's a controlled flood. See, there's not a bunch of vapor shooting through it, even though there's a bunch of vapor pushing through here. We've got, this is at, what's that say, 22 or so. This is at, say, 23, so there's about an inch difference. This will actually, if I put this on ice, it'll draw it down. This will go pull more back, and there'll be a little more difference. But that's just how she's going. Now we just get to sit here and be bored and watch her. Could do some questions and stuff, but then I'd have to take the camera off the process. So which one would we rather do? Oh, you know what I didn't set my timer. Let me set my timer. And if we put it down to 100, I'm going to slow down a bit. It slows down, it reacts pretty fast with this IH. Put it up to 140. Well, look at all that vapor go, well, not vapor, all that production go. That's pretty darn fast, and that's a lot of alcohol recovered already. That whole tube is full. So see, when you have this moving, and you have pressure being built up over here, it's going to push through here, and even work to push through the flood that's here to get through. But it's all, you just got to keep and make sure it keeps going and it's not getting stuck. So it works without ice. It works, it works without ice here. It's better to have it. But see now, see how that's starting to shoot through? That's because we moved this up to 140. This is becoming more active, and you can see this guy really, really wanting to move and push. You touch down here, this is still cool, so that's pretty nice. If it's not cool, that means this is getting overworked, right? But it's not. But this isn't really what you want to see, because that means you're just going to build pressure over here. But a little bit might be okay. We just turned it up, so let's let it sit for a few minutes and see if it'll equalize. And it may equalize, and this may flood nicely. But if it doesn't, just watch that. Does that keep going up? What did we say it was before? It's around 23. It's still about there. Let's give it a minute and see what happens. But you can see when we went from, and that's kind of, we've lost some vacuum there because we put this up to 140. We've got more boiling, and look how active this guy is. He's really going. So he's still pushing through, and you can see kind of vapor mist on here. This is what putting ice under here will get rid of. So what do you think we should do? Well, we've got two choices. We can either put ice here, or we can calm this guy back down. But you know, let's put this guy back down to like 125. The difference in the production rate between making this go fast and making it go slow, it's really, really small. So, you know, is it really a race? I don't think it is. I think it's nice just to kind of get it so it gets done in the most calm, easy, relaxing way, right? So let's do this. I'm going to go get some, I'm going to leave you here to watch this for a minute. I'm going to go get some ice for the reclaim, and we'll put it down a little bit, and we'll see what happens. What should happen here with the, you can kind of watch this if you can see it. Since we turned it down, this should start slowing down, catching up with the vapor, and this should start filling up with the flood again. And you can see already here on the lid, that's condensing already because there's not as much vapor being pushed through, right? I see the questions coming through. I'll go back and answer the questions later, just because I can't do too many things at once. But I'm gonna go get the ice. I'll be back in a second. I just made a little water bath. See, this guy's still trying to catch up. He's still going. He's humming along. Still boiling along nicely. Still there. So we lost when we put it up to 140, right? So this is how we can get a little bit back. This guy's still stuck about the right place, about 23. Made the little ice bath and put them in there just to see what happens. But you can see pretty much immediately it starts moving down. As soon as it starts cooling off. So you don't really even have to use the ice. You can if you want, so that's about a ½ inch already that's come down. We'll keep coming down. This guy's gonna actually eventually is gonna end up coming down a bit as soon as this pulls through. So you see how that's more active now? That's not this time because we've got more pressure here. It's because we've got more vacuum here as it settles down to be cooler. So those are the push-pull that you're always kind of wanting to balance. But the reality is, all I'm doing is a bunch of fiddling around here just to show you how it works. And you really don't even need to do any of it. Excuse me. Just get it started, and as long as the needles don't move, just leave it alone. About as boring as it could be. Jim Hamilton is asking if the seals are replaceable. Yes, they're replaceable. They come off so you can clean. They're just a C-cup that goes around the glass lid. If you wear them out, you let me know, because it's not going to happen. These things will outlast all of us. If you happen to, though, don't worry. I've got them, and we can get them replaced pretty easy. They're not, they wouldn't be that expensive either. But let me get back to this thing. Still going strong. Got quite a bit of reclaim in there already. Still coming up. You can see the pressure's dropped here quite a bit, so you're going to get a lot more sucking action on this side. That's going to pull down the overall. Once it catches up to the overall system, we'll lower it in here. And actually, you know what? We haven't done this yet. Let's do this. Let's see what we're running at here about. If you take the temperature of the hardware, it's going to give you a pretty good idea of where this stuff's running. So it's running around, it's crazy, absolutely insane. This is saying it's running around 80 degrees. So that means maybe 85. I'm trying to get through the glass. You can't really take the temperature through the glass. But if you take the fixtures and the vapor temperature that's warming this stuff up and touch this, I mean, it's not even warm. Still on 125, and that's the beauty of the IH. The IH top doesn't even get hot, even if it was 80 or 90. If it was 125 degrees, it wouldn't be. But this is room temperature. That's why this thing's really cool. It's throwing out a lot of vapor. We're steady. We've come down a little bit there. Come down quite a bit here. That vapor flow is primarily due to the sucking side here, like I said. So we're moving. If you see, so this is where it kind of maybe something's kind of a little bit hard to understand sometimes, because if you see this kind of vapor pull through here, it's either okay or it's not, which sounds kind of dumb to say. But if this is cool, which it is, because it's cooled by the ice, right? And you don't have this cranked up, and the pressures aren't rising, then it's okay to see. It's primarily because we've got this guy on ice, where before we didn't. So it's just the vapor, the pressure is pulling the condensed ethanol through. When it's not okay, is when you've got this temperature turned way up. This is boiling like it's insane. You don't really even see liquid here. You just see vapor pushing through. It shoots out here warm and fills this up and makes all the pressure in the whole system go nutty. So the safest bet is run low temp. Doesn't matter if this is higher or lower. You can run it on ice, and it's oh so nice. I keep talking, but kind of boring, isn't it? Excuse me. It's actually really coffee. It's not a Blake Shelton type thing. While we're sitting waiting for this guy to go, any questions? Thing actually works so good. All my cautionary stuff about using gravity and letting it flow and all the ice and all that stuff, they're just trivial points. They're not deal breakers. This thing is so robust and easy to run. There's so much margin in getting it to run well. It's ridiculous. Look at her go. It's kicking as much vapor as it can. But if you wanted to save a little bit of time, the time you're going to save is not messing with this to try to force more vapor through this defined and confined system. What you can do though, if you want to use a longer tube here, so I've got a short tube, so you can't really do it. You can move this down a little bit so you have more of an angle like this, so all of that condensed ethanol is not just sitting there, it's getting through, and you can see kind of the vapor and the other condensed ethanol pushing through. You can see here it's just getting sucked right up in there. So if you're going to save time and efficiency, this right here, managing this part here, is probably a really good bet. Again, sitting steady, still even coming down a bit. So what we might be able to see here pretty soon, once this, because that keeps going down because of the ice, is we might start seeing this flow stabilize here pretty soon, because this is coming down, that's equalizing, lowering the temperature that this works at. So this, maybe once it stabilizes, will start to flood again. We'll see. Jeremy Barron's asking how long to run a liter. Liter takes about an hour. This I'm running is 600. This is 600 milliliters, so I anticipate it'll be somewhere around 45 minutes. Let's see how long we've been running so far. Quite a bit, maybe less, maybe quite a bit less than that, because we've been running for about just over maybe 20 minutes, and this is all that's left in there. So maybe another 15 minutes. continues to go. So now let's mess around with it again. So that's where we are with that. Now if we take it, let me show you what happens if we take it off the ice. That'll probably start to come up a little bit. And this will start to flood eventually. Let's see what we got going on here. This guy's boiling along nicely. See as we're turning them up a bit. These temps are crazy. Do the ambient temperature. Ambient temperature in here is about, it's pretty low. That wall is exterior wall, so it's 63. That's an interior wall. It's kind of cold here today, so that's going to help actually with production. Not real hot out here. Pretty crazy. This guy's still pulling through pretty easy. That's gone up a bit. The vapor's catching up with it since it's not so cold. Jim Hamilton is asking, what temp does the Source Turbo heat the Crucible to? Just curious, the difference between Source Turbo and this. Source Turbo runs around 105. That's what the programming is, and that's kind of the best we could get it to for the environment it works in. So there's quite a big difference there in the operating temperatures. This, the main thing is at the end. This is what you've got to be careful both with the Source Turbo and with this, is you've got to watch it at the end, because as soon as all the ethanol is evaporated out, the evaporation of the ethanol is what carries away the energy that's heating the pot. That's why, even though I've got this working at 140, I can touch it and it doesn't feel any warmer than my forehead. because the evaporation pulls that heat out, gets cooled in the condenser, condenses the ethanol, and we recollect it, right? But as soon as that ethanol is gone from inside that loading vessel, then there's nothing to carry that energy away, so the temps ramp. So the crucible in the Source Turbo can ramp up to around 180 degrees or so. It's probably the hottest I think we've measured it. I don't think I've gotten it to 200 before, but it could. But on the IH and on other cooktops, it'll go, if you forget about it, it'll ramp hard and it'll get really hot. So you have to really pay attention to the end, right? When it gets to the end, you have to be watching it, because if you don't, it can ruin your shizzle, and it can ruin your day. So it's not for not paying attention. Did I answer that? So your question was Source Turbo versus this operating temperatures. 105 Source Turbo, this 80 or high, it depends how you run it, but it should be around 80 to 90. And then the ramp at the end is kind of the same for both of them. This one you can manage. The Source Turbo you can't manage, because this one you can actually turn down a bit. So that's an advantage. I think I've got all the questions so far. Let's go back to the action. See, this is just so boring. Boom, it's going. It's getting pretty low. Let's tip it. That's how you can look to see how much is left. You just take it and you can tip it. Bam, take a look. This guy's still going strong. This is so active and moving because I turned this up to 140 just to get that bubbling a bit more. We're still doing good here. This is just one load, right? So you can see you can get through about one. This is about 6 pounds of ice. I don't think it's 7. You can get through one load here, 1 liter load here with basically one load of ice. So it matches up pretty well. This guy is funny because this guy should be flooded, but it's not. So that just shows you can't really sweat it. If the stuff's not moving, if it settles in, you just leave it and let her go. Especially if you don't have the temperatures really rising here. So it's right, come up about 5 or 6 degrees because I turned this up, right? But still, we're sub 90. If you want to cool it off again, we can just back this up. And this, to be honest with you, this is kind of like where I like to run it, 125 to 140. And this this is the induction cooker's reaction is in control, temperature control is so quick. I mean, it moves it almost immediately. This will start slowing down. We'll see what happens here. This will eventually probably flood. You can see it's having a harder time getting up over the hill. But you can see there's a whole bunch of reclaim in there. So fast, so cool. Cool as in cool and cool as in temperature, I suppose. See how that gets a lot less active when you turn the temperature down, it just kind of cruises. This one's starting to fill up again because the condensation in the condenser is catching up a little bit more. This is heading back, since we took it off the ice, this is heading back to where it was before, around 23 instead of around 24. So, all of these little things to mess with, actually when I say all, I say all these little things to mess with. There's really not that much. There's temperature on the IH, which basically you really only want two options, around 125 or 140. There's the placement of how you have the component set up. And then there's whether you put ice on the reclaim vessel or not. It's not. It is rocket science, but it's not. It's super easy. And people are going to start, you know how people are, and we've been doing this. You guys that have been with me for the last decade doing this nonsense, you know how people are. People are going to want to fiddle with it. People are going to want to overthink it. People are going to want to try to like maximize every single second. I kind of just would leave it, man. Don't mess with it. Don't overthink it. It's super simple. Concentrate on enjoying it more than worrying about it. Let's see. If the IH is set, Jim Hamilton's asking, if the IH is set to 125 at the end, doesn't it kind of stop at 125-ish? No, it doesn't. It heats, it over ramps. Luckily with the IH, there's a safety cutoff. But no, it's unfortunately not how heat delivery works. What it does is it keeps delivering the same amount of energy to the cooker that it has been, and then it takes a while for it to figure out where it should be. So no, it'll ramp and it'll make that pot hot real quick. So no, it's not like a warming pad. That's why you can't use it. You absolutely cannot use the IH cooker for post-production, for like warming an empty pot for post-processing, like you would a vacuum oven or a warmed vacuum chamber. You need a warming pad for that. You cannot use a cooktop. A cooktop, luckily the IH, like I said, that'll eventually cut off when it gets dangerously hot. Analog cooktop won't. It'll melt your pan. So don't do it. That's why I got the heating pads. And let's see, Gene Greenwood was asking, would it make it better to recover the ethanol if the collection vessel was lower on the desktop, or is it better the same level? Yeah, that's what I was explaining. Maybe go back and watch this video again for some of the nuances that I was talking about. But yes and no. In fact, right here I'll show you why. Because it's finally caught up. Since I turned the temperature back down, you see how that slowed down quite a bit? This is slowed down quite a bit. And then we got the flood back, right? So that's the difference. So, and you saw before in the video when the vapor was kind of pushing through and making it without a problem. Now, because this isn't pushing as hard, this is stopping the vapor from going through. So you've got it, but you see how it keeps going. This is the controlled flood, and this is what kind of keeps a lot of vapor from going through and make sure it stays cool. And this will go, because we're riding it hard, this is a little bit, it's not exactly so cold anymore. I'm just shaking to get the ice down. It's not as cold as it was before, but now it'll get cooler again. You see this guy's just that ethanol is trying to climb up and make it over the hill. But what it does is on the bottom, a very little bit just kind of keeps making it through here and trickling on out. So what Gene was asking is, would it make sense to have that lower? Yes and no. So it kind of matters, kind of doesn't. I'll break this quick release and I'll lower this guy, and you can watch. As soon as I do, this thing's going to evacuate all the ethanol. It's basically backed up because of the flood. And it's going to empty the condenser. So when I talk about having this thing set up to use gravity to kind of go, so there is no flood, works, but it can also work like this because the pressure differential makes it do that, which is kind of cool. Then we've got it there. You want to see what happens if we put it on ice again though? Here we're getting pretty close to the end. So we're going to pay attention to it, see if it's starting to heat up. Because when it gets low like this, now it's going to start to heat up a little bit. Still doing pretty good. We just want to keep a track of it to make sure once it does start heating up. Let's do this. Let's grab this ice bucket, this ice again, and set it on here and see what effect it has. See how we're nice and flooded now, right? Let's see if it makes much difference. See, almost immediately, see how it just sucks that out? So that little pressure difference, that little cooling, makes all the difference in the world in clearing that out. But the crazy thing is it works pretty damn good either way. So you're gonna have to mess with it and see how you want to run it. It's just so stable and easy to use. And the margins in it, you know, they're manageable. So just putting that on ice, that's what it does, because we're still, as it goes down, this is probably going to go, where was it? It was up about 22 and a half, I think. It's, whoops, where are we at? So we're at 23 right now. That's probably going to end up going down to about 24. Maybe it'll equalize and flood again, or maybe it'll just keep pulling it up. See how it's all liquidy right now and almost done? If you wanted to, you could pull it out here. That way it would be really easy to collect and you could just pour it out. You could just pour it out when it's really liquidy like that. Save yourself a lot of hassle and kind of messing with it. And pour it out, and it could just sit out in a thin layer on a silicone mat overnight and purge dry. Or if you're going to use it to like mix with sugar or something like that for some culinary or a really high potency tincture, you could pull it out right now. We're probably going to leave it in there for a minute just to get it a little bit thicker, but this is going to change. Just reading Patricia saying she can't understand me. Oh, I got you. I'll talk to Patricia later. So I'm going to let this go a little bit further and keep an eye on it. See what the temperature is looking like. It's really hard to read because the vapor's not really moving so much now, but this isn't even warming up at all. So what you might start seeing is you might start seeing some less controlled evaporation as that gets thicker. We can turn that up a little bit and just see what happens. What's going to happen is, see how it starts splattering? You don't really want it to splatter, so that's why we want to keep it low. Still going strong there. What we got going over here? This guy is coming down a little bit below 23, so that's about an inch that we've lost, or that we've gained in vacuum, lost in pressure. This guy's still going strong. He wants to climb. So this is getting pretty darn close. This is about where I'd pull it out for myself, just so I can have it fairly concentrated like that and easy to get out, and then I'll worry about the rest in post-production. Because if you take it much further, it's really going to kind of just start making a mess, and it's going to smear all over when you're trying to collect it, and it's going to start splattering. But you can kind of do however you want. And again, the way I'm testing it, you can just take this and move it just like that. Hey Jim, no, I don't know any post-production videos really. I'll probably make one before too long. See, because of the splash and the splattering, that reclaim's starting to get a little bit colored. It's not really splashing, it's not really doing a whole lot like that, but that vapor is going to have more and more of what's in there combined. So I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to take it off the heat. We are going to go ahead and put this up over here. I'm just going to crack this just to let it start moving very slowly. So I don't want to shock it and blow that stuff all over. So I just barely crack that. I just barely crack it and just let it go down real slow like that. Prepare my little boat. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's check the time. Where's my time? Just under 40 minutes. There's my boat. Open this guy up. Let's take a quick shot. See what it says for temperature. Temperature comes up a little bit after you open it. It's at 90 degrees, 91. As you can see, got it there. It's a little bit dark, like I mentioned earlier, because I was messing around with actually doing the extraction under vacuum. So I think it actually pulled a bunch. I think it actually ended up pulling a bunch of the plant material. Oh, man, it smells really good. Ended up pulling a bunch of the plant material out with it, but that's neither here nor there. For 40 minutes is, so the Source Turbo is 300 milliliters in 3 hours. This is 600 milliliters in 40 minutes. That's pretty good. Man, it smells good. Really pretty, super clean. I don't know if I'm the best to. There you go. That's going to be some deliciousness in a minute. So, and then what I do in the very end is I've got the lid off there, so it's got free flow. So what I do in the end is I just turn on the, oop, I got to connect it. There's the quick release. Oop, hold on, I got to sit you down. Put on the quick release. I'm going to pull this out of the ice bath. And then let this run a bit so that the air can flow through. Air can flow through there. Oop, I gotta open this up. Can flow through there, and we can pull kind of what's left of the condenser. So the air flows through there unimpeded because this isn't closed onto something. So the air comes in here and it's kind of flushing your condenser a bit so you can empty it. I just let that run for a minute, but man, you know what? I don't know how good you guys can see that, but it's actually kind of pretty. Just let that go for a minute or so. You see that ethanol is kind of climbing out. So that's all there is to it, yo. Let me grab my coffee and scroll through here and see if there's any questions I missed. Let's see. Do you know of any post-production? I think I already answered that when I said I don't, but I'm planning on, I'll probably make one. I know there's some guidance in that one article I wrote on ichibancrafter.com in the ethanol extraction complete breakdown post. There's a post processing with some information in there. Let's see, what's Jim Hamilton say? 40 minutes for 600 milliliters. Source turbo does 302 to 2.5. Holy smokes. Yep, that's right. Takes more closer to 3, I think, but for a proper 300 milliliters. But yeah, that's twice the volume in, what, 10, 15% of the time, 20% of the time maybe. How much biomass, Gene Greenwood's asking how much biomass I used. I don't really know. I didn't really measure it. I think it was about an ounce. No, it's more than that. It's probably about 2 ounces, something like that. I didn't really look. I was goofing around. Did you soak the 600 milliliter out? How much? Oh, that's how much. I don't know. And I was just messing around because I wanted to try doing the extraction under vacuum for the first time, which I did. I don't know if it's a great thing for edibles, for sure, because it's fast and it's deep. So for edibles, it's awesome. For really clean smoke, probably not, because I think you end up targeting a lot of the plant material as well, because it gets sucked. The ethanol gets sucked into that much more forcibly. So that's how it is. All right, y'all. Hopefully this was helpful. You can see how easy it is, even though I was messing around the whole time, flipping switches and just showing you the different parts of it. The reality of how you use it is you just kind of pump it down, let it go. Super easy, super quick, super beautiful, yummy. All right, y'all. What's up?